All right. Good morning. Good morning. GN, everyone. It is another beautiful day to have a beautiful day. Welcome to another episode of Fomo Hour. This is episode 191. We are 2 weeks away from episode 200. Can you believe it? Today is Friday, August 30th, 2024. Folks, it's another cloudy, rainy morning here in Chicago, but we are set up to have a beautiful weekend here in the Windy City. It's going to be 80 and sunny for the entire next stretch. We are feeling good. The question on all of our minds is crypto set up for a beautiful weekend as well? I'm not so sure, but we will talk about it on today's show. We've got a fun one on deck. I am excited for today's show. No Farouk, he is out. No Mando today, but we've got Logan Hitchcock. He is the editor-in-chief over at Lucky Trader, and a special guest, Bread Guy. Bread is going to be stopping by later on in the show as well. I see him in the audience trying to get him up here, but while we wait, Logie, Jim, how you doing?
Hey, good morning, Tyler. Have I rectified all audio issues on day 3?
It's a little bit better.
Okay. All right. I'm doing well then, I guess. That was the big question mark for me. So I'm feeling okay to start.
Not super convincing on this Friday, but we'll let Logie get into it here with us. Folks, what are we talking about on today's show? So we are going to start with a quick market report. I'll do my best Mando impression. We'll ask, will the summer of chop ever end? Memes seemingly as dead as a doorknob. We've got a judge dismissing the lawsuit against Elon Musk and the claim that he rigged or inside traded DOGE. Prediction markets are going mainstream, folks, with PolyMarket leading the charge, but they've got a feisty new competitor heating up the entire sector. Fantasy Top is back. Brad's going to talk about it with us later on. The Hawk Tua girl apparently opted for a Mad Lads over a D-Gods, much to Logan's chagrin after yesterday's conversation. So we'll hit that. And Machi's $100 raise in quotes, plus a lot more. And folks, it's Friday. It is Friday. You know what that means. Rollbit spins. So as a reminder, retweet the space. Make sure you're following all the hosts to be eligible for that. But folks, before we get into the show, we have a new partner that we are very excited to introduce to you here this morning with Galaxis. Shout out to Galaxis. So the Galaxis pitch, if you're not familiar, they are building the digital asset version of Kickstarter meets Patreon via their digital membership card platform. So the problem for creators and celebs in this current state, platforms have all the power. If you piss YouTube off, they can deplatform you and you lose the community you've worked so hard to build. Well, Web3 offers the opportunity to build communities that cannot be deplatformed, and that's where Galaxis is leaning in. And they've worked with some major celebs like Steve Aoki, Mike Tyson, and along with brands like the NBA to try to bring this vision to life. So what do they actually do? They build the infrastructure enabling these digital communities tied to NFT digital membership cards. Their CEO, Andres Christoph, he explains it pretty well. So I'll quote him here. What Galaxis has built is a combination of Kickstarter and Patreon. It's a funding and monetization framework that's based on digital membership cards. And with these memberships, they are unlocking real-world utility. So for the Mike Tyson NFT, one lucky holder got to spend 3 days with Tyson on his ranch, even sparring with him. For the NBA partnership, they featured player cards with graded based on player performance dynamically. And then perhaps most notably, we buried the lead. Galaxis did partner with the Trump team to help provide the Web3 infra for those Trump digital trading cards, helping sell out that first batch of 45,000 cards at $99 each. Arguably one of the most successful celeb NFT launches ever. And while those Trump NFTs have offered point-in-time utility like the dinners at Mar-a-Lago, Christoph says the next step would be longer-term utility and perks, and even things like monthly subscription payments. And that's what their infrastructure does support. So it's going to be interesting to see which projects are the first to successfully unlock that feature. But overall, Galaxis doing big things and paving the way. I want to thank them for partnering with us. Excited to begin this relationship. Logie, curious, as I was thinking about this and this monthly subscription idea, are there celebs or creators out there that you'd be paying monthly subs for?
It's interesting, Tyler. I was initially skeptical of this, but having a fiance that's a Swiftie has changed my mind a little bit, and understanding how much people want to receive behind the scenes content, this sort of backstage stuff. It's a smaller list for me, but I think there are some tennis players like a Yannick Sinner, despite the controversy of late, a Yannick Sinner type thing. Like that would be really cool for me to be able to see kind of the behind the scenes everyday stuff, life on tour, traveling the world, playing tennis. So I think that's the avenue I would lean down.
Yeah, I think you went the athlete slash star route. I think even inside crypto, there's probably folks like I'd probably sub to a Kobe membership if there was one. I was even thinking like even Mando. Like Mando, you don't have to because he gives away so much of his alpha in public every day. But folks like that, at the right price, is that something I'd monthly sub for? Absolutely. So let's I would be into it. I like the model quite a bit. Folks, it looks like we've got Brett on with us. Let's get him in. Some fun breaking news. Brett guy up on stage with us. If you are in the stream, we'll look to get him up on the spaces here as well. If you don't know Brett, he is actively making butt picks great again. He's half Viking after spending 2 weeks trekking around Norway, but he is back with us. Back desk looking to get back up. Brett, Jim, how you doing, my friend?
Not great. I probably sound like shit because I now have this hood ornament of a mic that does not work. I just found out there's a problem with Rode USBs that just die. So dealing with that. So this is worthless to me. Yeah, but no, I'm back having a good time. I am a little disappointed that I'm the breaking news and that there's not actually something crazy interesting going on in the markets. But we got stuff to talk about, so we'll do it.
Yeah, we'll see if more pressing breaking news does come live during the show. But Brett, happy to have you on as always. Well, let's get into it. I'll start us off here with a quick market report before we get into our juicier topics. Let me get the screen share fired up here. Just 1 second, folks. So I think for starters, just going around the horn, crypto majors are down a touch here today. Bitcoin down 2%, ETH down the same. Bitcoin 59,450, ETH 2510. Solana down 5%. So Solana is lagging here fairly substantially, down at 139. On the ETF front, some outflows yesterday. So Bitcoin saw 72 million in outflows. That marks 3 days in a row. ETH saw 1.7 million in outflows there as well. On the meme board, I think what's jumping out to me about the meme coin sector right now is there's just very few winners. So on the days where Bitcoin and Solana are green, we see everything kind of jump up along with it, and they move up like levered bets. So if Sol's up 10%, your memes are probably going to be up 20 to 30%. But man, on the days of the chop, it's just mostly red on the board. And I report the top 5 meme coin movers every day, and I've been struggling this week to even find 5 over 10 million in green on a daily basis. Like I'm looking at the Sol board right now, stream it is almost all red, all the way down. A handful up 5 or 10%. The ETH board did a little bit better on the day, still very red up top. I'm trying to scroll down and see where some of the winners are. Yeah, really not that many. This Bro token up 77%. This kerosene token, I saw B-Check reporting on kerosene is tied to a stable coin in some capacity. So I'm gonna have to dig into that one. I'm not really as versed, but overall, not the best day there. I've already seen folks asking. We've been asking the question: are memes dead? I've been seeing folks asking the question: is Solana dead? Has Solana topped? I saw a poll question yesterday. Has Solana topped for this cycle? I did have to stop what I was doing there for a second. So like, are we really asking this question? But Logie, I'll ask you directly. Has Solana topped for this cycle?
I hope not. Is that the best answer I could possibly give? I mean, I feel like at this point in time, we talked about it on the show yesterday, Tyler. Chop until there's more certainty regarding the election. Chop until whatever. People feel better about overall macro conditions. I don't know. I don't know what's required to make things go up at this point, but it feels like we're gonna chop for a while longer. And I'm gonna hold spot and feel okay, and that's about all I can say, really.
Yeah, sage advice as always from Logie. Brett, a couple things I want to ask you about. So one, we've been talking about ton quite a bit this week with Pavel and the arrest news. Another piece of big news is it going down twice. And what jumped out to me is that no one seemed to care. So I'm curious, like if you saw that as well, and like, are the ton millions of users, are they real? Are they fake? Or are they just not in our circles? What's going on?
Yeah. All right. So I actually do have a pretty strong opinion on this because like we saw the same thing with Solana, right? Because Solana was the first like big chain to really break into this, but like have instances where it went down, right? And it called into question like what do users give a shit about, right? Whenever it first went down, everyone on the Ethereum side, everyone's like, the one job of a blockchain is to not fucking go down. Like that's the job, is to stay up. So like it was a big deal, right? And then over time, you know, it happened a few times, whatever, you start to realize that end users are like, yeah, whatever, I'll just go take a break for a little bit, come back when it's back up. And that we maybe are like over indexing on some of the properties of blockchain, right? And like there's valid points for why Solana does go down. Solana is so fast that you go down because you want to, you like, it's so fast if you stay up in a rocky state, the state growth and like how broken it can get is exacerbated because it's going so fast. So anyways, let's just say that they prioritize they prioritize a different property than Ethereum, which prioritizes liveness, right? They prioritize scalability, right? They're faster, they're whatever. So whatever. So it's just another instance of just coming back to like I think over-index on some of these virtuous things that we think blockchains are supposed to represent versus like what end users and what people actually give a shit about. Now, Ton is a little different. It's not like a high throughput chain, and I even saw like they put together a form for validators to like coordinate better to basically do the Discord restart stuff that Solana had to do whenever they go down, right? And like that's taboo in the centralized or the crypto world because it feels centralized, but like you know it's just kind of what they have to do. And I just think it's another instance of us over-indexing on what some of these things actually matter to a lot of the world. And then as for users, I think most of the users are in Telegram, which is not directly tied to Ton, the actual backend, right? They're clicking games, doing shit, hoping to get an airdrop 3 months from now. They're not actually doing on-chain interactions.
Yeah, and that makes sense. So like using Fancy Top as an example. Oh, there he is, Mando.
Hey,
incredible. Another fun surprise here this morning. We'll throw it to you here in a minute just to round this out. I think with Fancy Top, like in Fancy Top, if Blast went down, a hardcore Fancy Top user might not know it. They just might know their app isn't working. So I think that's, you know, the disconnect between app users versus like hardcore blockchain users. And perhaps that's where we're moving. Perhaps that's why we didn't see as much noise on the timeline. Mando, want to welcome you to the show. Love to have you on as always. I gave a very quick market report, but curious, anything jumping out to you here on Friday as we close the week? Are we just going to keep chopping for the rest of our lives? What's the state of
yeah, well, I think Bitcoin's chopping. Everything else is just going lower, isn't it? It's not that good. I think Bitcoin dominance is heading up to about 58% here. So Bitcoin continues to be around 60K. Everything else is going lower. I had a talk with Ovi actually even today. Like, is the Bitcoin dominance trade now to consensus? Like, it just feels like everyone's just like converting back into majors, and I'm not too sure. Like, everything else is down so much. Like, it is unbelievable how much the top 100 is down. You're starting to see DeFi coins getting a little bit of traction again. I don't know. I just had a thought today that maybe it's just too consensus that everyone's just like everything's a scam apart from Bitcoin.
Do you think we've gone because do you think dilution plays a part of that, right? Like the capital allocated to the buyers that are in the market, there's just so many coins that were being so spread out that it's hard to go back. Like everyone's looking for the same thing, right? That whole water flow chart of Bitcoin to Ethereum, then to alts and like whatever, right? But like this is our third cycle, and we're like there's just so many coins to buy. Do you think we're getting too spread out to like really lean on what we used to do the last 2-3 cycles?
I think that's definitely part of it. I tend to find that's more of an issue in modular blockchains. So like for ETH, a lot of people want to buy like ETH beta, or because a lot of the fees are moving towards L2s, like there's different ways to play that. Solana, the meme sector as a whole obviously has massive dilution, but I think when people want to buy Solana, they don't generally buy like Solana beta. They just buy Solana. And the memes and stuff, because there's just so many of them on Sol, I feel that's a slightly different play. Like you wouldn't buy, maybe 6 months ago you buy WIF as like a Solana beta play, but there's not really a Solana beta coin here. Like Solana can go up and all the memes can go lower, I feel. So yeah, I feel like that's particularly for any sort of modular chain that's an issue. But I also think that maybe that's where the gains could be too. Like I'm really starting to pay attention to more DeFi stuff now. Like it just feels as though that as a sector, I'm not too sure if the major memes will be the things that even recover the best if Solana rips. Like, or if let's say Bitcoin goes to like 80K, 70K, like I think as a sector, they were perhaps slightly overbought, and that, as we know from NFTs, it takes a long time to recover from sometimes. So I don't know. I'm looking around a little bit and thinking, where like broadly where stuff should be in. Like I'm Mog, for example, I even looked at today. Mog is down 350 million. I was like, wow, that's.
I was wondering this morning, is this coin ever going to go back up?
But I was like, that's low, right? Like Mog to me feels like it has more mind share than something like Popcat or stuff like that. And I said to Ovi, like, should we look at this one again? And I think we both came to the conclusion that although it was low, like it may not even be the thing that like pumps the hardest, or even has like the cleanest looking chart going into like the if everything pumps. Let's say ETH does have some gold candle and we head back up towards 4,000 and Bitcoin goes up towards 80,000, 90,000. I'm just not even sure if these memes will recover in the same way. So I don't know. That's kind of my thought process at the moment.
The standout thing for Mog, whenever I did the meme coin comparison based on holders, the thing that stand out for Mog was just it's such a small group of holders in the Mog coin. That was always just kind of an odd thing to me, given the mindshare that it has on CT. It's so hugely in front of everyone. But I've been talking about it. I still don't own it for whatever reason, but I've been talking about it for a year now. It's been an obvious thing.
Yeah.
And it was the same with like the Pups token and shit. But you mentioned DeFi. I'm pretty ingrained in like the people that have been analyzing that stuff. Arthur obviously led the charge with that. I've kind of talked about it, and then I've seen other people referring to it. But even evaluating a lot of those DeFi tokens and like, okay, like everything at this point, and we actually led off this segment by talking about Sol, does it ever go back up kind of thing. Like I know it's kind of hyperbole, but everything, even the DeFi sector, is like, fuck, why would you lean into that whenever like Sol still feels like the obvious higher upside thing? Like why would you go into DeFi whenever it's like, yeah, it's quantifiable, right? Like you have earnings, but still next marginal buyer might be TradFi guys, and that might appeal to them, but still it feels like Sol is the obvious, just like sit and roll play.
Yeah, so interestingly, I know I said I wouldn't buy Sol beta, but I have looked at some of the Sol DeFi stuff and thought that might be the best, because in terms of throughput, like Sol obviously does close to comparable volumes with, well, at least the L1, but even some of the like the L2s, the big DeFi L2s. So, and they all look slightly undervalued compared to anything on ETH. So I thought, oh, maybe some of those are worth looking at. I'm not looking at something for a 1 week trade. Basically, what I'm never good at those real trades. Like I'm not normally okay at looking at trades for like what's a hold for like 6 months, and like could this be a bit of rebound? And I just think like through the election, if Trump gets in, I mean, Trump is literally is about to promote a DeFi coin, right? Like DeFi protocol. Is DeFi the right, like as we come out of that, if you start to see crypto regulation, you start to see talk of more policy being able to push through, maybe that's the best risk reward. It's difficult for me to say. Like right now, I've been very major heavy. Obviously, I have Epic, which is my own coin. But other than that, I just haven't really played anything in massive size. And now I'm just thinking about, it's so consensus just to own majors and that everything else is a scam. But I do think some of these DeFi things could be okay.
Wait, are you telling me that Trump is about to make DeFi great again? Is that the takeaway from
I've heard
this conversation?
It's called Liberty Financial, right? I've heard it's something tied to like his own properties or something like that. I think it's like a property RWA protocol. That's what I've heard.
We still know what it is, but I think part of the problem, they've got a Telegram, and the Telegram is running ads with scam links already. So be careful clicking. I feel like it's more of a risk.
Christ.
I feel like it's more of a risk to Trump and perhaps to DeFi than it is a positive. But we will certainly see what this thing actually is. I'm happy it's not a meme coin. Let's just we can leave it at that. But as we keep pushing through here, I think another interesting on the day, and it was kind of a quiet day, just to set the stage, was Bloomberg. The Bloomberg terminal is adding PolyMarket data to the terminal here, and they're starting with the election markets. I don't think that would be a surprise to anyone that's where they are starting. And I was refreshing this morning when I didn't realize, man, $765 million now bet on the presidential election market. So we are coming up to $1 billion quite rapidly. I checked in on the PolyMarket numbers here. I actually wrote it up for the newsletter this morning, but all-time highs across the board. So they beat in monthly volume in August, like a 30% jump in monthly active traders. That's probably one of the better metrics on the chart. Daily active traders up and to the right, open interest over 100 million. It's up like 17%. And then monthly new accounts up a tick as well at 68,000. I guess my question for you, maybe more of a hard hitter, and I've got a few that I want to talk about on this topic. Do you think PolyMarket has gone mainstream? And what is the definition of mainstream here? Like certainly coverage is mainstream, but then when you look at monthly active users, it's got 61,000. So I guess, how do we define it? Logan, maybe I'll toss it to you and then whoever wants to jump in.
Yeah, I think PolyMarket has gone mainstream at this point in time. In addition to the Bloomberg terminal, use in, oh my gosh, like almost every day financial news and reporting. I think it was on CNBC last week, or one of those shows. I would call that mainstream, breaking out of this bubble in which 1,000 to 2,000 active people are talking about it, and at least providing the opportunity for others to become aware of it. I would call that breaking out into the mainstream. Of course, getting more users paramount in becoming a mainstream application, but making its way there, I would definitely say yes. At this point in time, I mean, the collaborations, the partnerships thus far have been slam dunks. They make a lot of sense. They're not like reach weird connections. So I think everybody who's pulling the strings here is doing an excellent job of getting this and creating a really, really strong potential top of funnel.
I love the product. I think they've done a great job. Brett, maybe I'll toss it to you. I think what's really thrown me off, I guess, is really just looking at the user counts. I think like FinTech had this level of numbers, right? At peak, weren't they putting this up? So I guess I'm curious for your thoughts. Are you surprised at how mainstream this app is? Like it's quite literally on CNBC. Like it's on major media streams on a daily basis, but it seems like the user base is primarily like a core crypto subset, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by it. I was actually back in March. I was even like, I saw PolyMarket. I was getting involved in it, and I was even talking about building out an alternative because there's some stuff that I thought they could revamp. But yeah, I'm not surprised given the political climate and how contentious a lot of this stuff is, and how being a true reform. I think a lot of people do believe that with monetary backing, you actually do. It is a truth-seeking machine, as Vitalik said. I tend to agree with that. I made a point that like the PolyMarket or these prediction markets they arb out emotion, or at least the market arbs out emotion, whereas like meme coins, like emotion is exacerbated. So like they're kind of like go hand in hand with each other. So I'm not surprised to see it did grow. I am surprised to see how prominent it is in mainstream media and how I guess that hasn't translated to direct users, because you're right, 60,000 seems like a really big number. That's kind of what the FinTech numbers were, although I'd say those are probably a little more, I don't know, not as truthful, that was civil. There's not as much civil incentive here, or any really. So yeah, I'm not surprised by the growth. I am surprised by the amount of prominence within mainstream, yes. But that's good for us.
It is. I think they've done a really good job spinning up new markets. I think I've personally been a little surprised at how they've been able to manage the daily volume. So they have been like, we had a few blow off days around like when the VP market was resolved, when a few large bets were resolved, but largely up and to the right. People are they're finding daily things to bet on. So they've done a good job.
Someone mentioned a mention market. I like the mention market that's kind of starting to grow out of this. Like you had mentioned, you're mentioning words inside of a specific debate. People are having a lot of fun with that kind of stuff, and I'm wondering if the mention market is something that will persist beyond the actual political shit.
It has its own tab now. I didn't even realize that. So what I hate, the one thing that I dislike, is the wrong word. It's very hard to find resolved bets. So I would love to pull up the mentions market from the Trump speech yesterday. Logie's no on Pavel hit. I went 2 for 5, but I hit a long shot. So we basically broke even betting that the Trump mentions. It does feel like mentions, and all these markets are politics, right? So I think the question is, will mentions be able to break out of, these presidential candidates who every speech that they're giving right now is under more microscopes than anything else. But it's an interesting concept. Brett, you asked me in the chat before, did bet on their $20 million day steal any PolyMarket volume? I don't really know that it did. I think it does raise some questions of what that 20 million is. But the big news also in prediction markets, folks, predict.fun is set to launch on Blast next week. So they're going live on Tuesday. As a reminder, they were given 879,000 Blast Gold. That's worth roughly $879 or so, pending your calculations. And they are set to finally go live. They missed August. They will be live next month. If you don't remember, they came out with a pretty strong pitch in how they're differentiating themselves from PolyMarket. That pitch being native yield, higher liquidity, higher precision, and the substantial incentives. And of course, this is going live on Blast. Logan, I'll toss this to you to start. Which of these 4 factors do you think are most important to you or to broader users?
I think incentives to me, high liquidity is great. Native yield is great. Precision, we're still not exactly sure what that means in terms of the pure application of it. Incentives, though, give me a reason not to go to PolyMarket, basically. Is that Blast Gold, 879,000 Blast Gold? Maybe. Is there something else on top of that, like a predict token, right? Maybe. Who knows? I'm clearly speculating here. But that would be personally what would give me a reason to potentially use predict versus PolyMarket at this time. There are pros and cons to there's lots of cons to low liquidity, but there's also pros in the fact that you have opportunities to take advantage of ARBs or, markets that are clearly more inefficient, right? That's why that one doesn't matter so much to me. Like I said, precision, we'll wait and see. And as a small note, Tyler, I was thinking about when Mando was walking through the DeFi coins and stuff, I happened to scroll through UMA, which is listed on there for, I don't know why, but is that a picks and shovels type prediction markets going mainstream play? One of those oracles, an oracle coin. Not the segue.
Interesting. So UMA has a token? Is that?
Yeah, I pulled it up. It's down 95% from all-time high.
Okay.
It's $2.16. It's down 14% in the last 30 days. But that's the oracle that I believe predict.fun has teased. I think they only have like 3 or 4 tweets, but I believe there's something about UMA there. And then I don't know the picks and shovels ins and out technical details of the oracles and stuff. But if you scroll to the bottom of PolyMarket, it indicates that it's powered by UMA as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, UMA definitely powering PolyMarket. It's interesting to see it power predict.fun, which raises the question of the high precision factor. So how are they going to have higher precision with the same, unless they have perhaps like a curated team? I guess I'm not really familiar exactly with how the UMA protocol works.
Yeah, me neither. I can't answer for any of that stuff. It was just a spur of the moment thought as I was scrolling through those coins. But I mean, if you believe in, prediction markets being the thing, which I think a lot of people are from this cycle, right? As being the thing that kind of makes its way out of crypto here. That feels like a picks and shovels type play, the infrastructure.
Interesting play for sure. I disagree with your comment on which of these factors matter, but I'll save my thoughts. I don't want to sway Brad. Brad, curious for your thoughts. Which of these 4 factors will matter the most? Logie went with incentives for native yield, liquidity, precision.
I think matter for me is different than matter for the product. Matter for me, I don't like long-term bets in these, and probably because there is no native yield associated to it. But you notice that on PolyMarket, a lot of the higher liquidity and higher capital markets are the ones that are long dated, right? Like the fucking election, right? People have conviction on that, and it's 6 months out or whatever. Those people would appreciate native yield, and having that native yield weight also probably give people included additional incentives to actually put out bids, like limit orders and stuff, and actually thicken up the order book. Because now you have margin of error of an extra 4% that you're willing to play with. So now instead of like people having to do this, because there's basically no incentives on PolyMarket, right? It's like $1 for every $500 that you bet or some shit, close to the actual limit that's out there. If you do now, you have 4% on top of that plus the additional blast incentives, right? So now you have people that are willing to actually like throw orders out there because, well, shit, I have it resting out there. I'm making money anyways. If I'm wrong, well, I still get, it extends the time window around my bet being right or wrong, right? Like I can sit there and throw it out there and hold on to it. But if it starts moving away from me, my margin of error is now 6% away from me, as opposed to like, if I'm wrong, every percent is cutting out of my capital or my principal. So I think that, go ahead.
No, so Stats was talking about this yesterday, the native yield, and commenting on its importance. I mean, you've got markets on Poly, like Alabama presidential election winner. It's only at 98%. Like in reality, this is basically 100%. Like Alabama is going to go Republican, but the opportunity cost of locking up your capital, it's not enough for folks to go get that extra, 2% or whatever it is. But with native yield on top of your bet, maybe that is enough to go for the folks who want to go these like micro gain, back up the pennies in front of the steamrollers. They're going to have more opportunities with the native yield. That's not going to be it for me. I still think the high liquidity matters the most. Like you can have all the incentives in the world. You can have great native yield, but if you can't get good action down on these markets, like I don't think it's not gonna.
Well, they go together, right? That's what I was saying. Having that native yield allows for people to increase their liquidity or like put orders on the books, right? Because now, like I said, I'm viewing this like you mentioned the time effect of this, and I think that is very important, right? So like I can put an order on the book knowing that if my order is sitting out there, I'm getting native yield on it, and I can sit there and let this thing move away from me and keep my bid out there for as it creeps away from me for a couple percent, because I know I'm still in the green. Like I'm not eating into my cap or my principal once I put that bid out there. So like right now, if I do it on PolyMarket, I do it every percent it moves away from me, I'm losing money. But I'm losing my principal, I should say. If I do that now, knowing that I have blast fold incentives, which is usually closest to the current, like we're probably gonna do the same Blur thing, right? Because Blur, they do incentivize bids that are close to the actual floor price. Do something similar to that to thicken up the order book. They're probably gonna run the same playbook here, where they have blast fold with proximity to the current price, and then you'll have native yield on top of that. So I could sit there and have my thing resting out there, and as it moves away from me for 3 weeks, a month, and just let it bleed, I'm not actually eating into my principal. So I think the native yield adds to the high liquidity. It will.
The Blur farmers are notoriously I feel like my read is they are risk averse. It's like they're happy to farm with their capital in low risk methods, but providing liquidity on some of these markets, you are putting it up, right? Like there is a chance that you can lose it. So I guess is the scenario here that they're gonna, market make the 50-50 Trump Kamala election market and then just pull liquidity 2 days before? Like, is that the play here? I'm just kind of curious how this is all gonna map out with the gold incentives. On the gold topic, Brett, since you have been chatting about it a bit, what's your current price target? So we had what, $6 per gold was the target ahead of TGE. I think it ended up coming out around $1. What's your mental model for it for round 2?
To be honest, I've been evaluating L2 dynamics for a while now, and it's the psychological aspect of bidding these L2 tokens in just the Ethereum ecosystem largely is kind of fucking with my head, right? Because as we know, in the current paradigm, L2 tokens have basically no correlation with the actual underlying activity. No structural tie into the actual activity on the thing, although they do seem to correlate a little bit based on the activity. So people are psychologically associating these L2 tokens with activity on the chain, even though they're not directly tied to each other. And that kind of ties into the fragmentation that Mando was talking about before, right? Although I'm in the Ethereum ecosystem, if I want exposure to Base, I'm not going to buy Ethereum. If Base has a token, I'm going to buy a Base token, even if it is a bullshit governance token, or I'm going to buy OP because Base is in the super chain. And psychologically, traders seem to tie exposure to ecosystem to the L2 tokens. And bringing this all back around, I think based on some of Blast's combined incentives inside the ecosystem, where they have the application revenue or activity going back to the actual application teams, right? Like the contract source revenue. If I'm an app that drives activity on the chain, I get the gas fees or the fees that we actually generate back to me. So that's incentives for the team. Native yield, which allows for products like this predictive.fund blowing up a little bit, being a little differentiators, and being it native, the native yield helps there. And then the mobile first objectives of Blast. I'm still hopeful that, again, because even though the token itself doesn't directly tie to the activity on the chain, traders do associate it with that. I'm still hopeful Blast. So I think it's mispriced. I think it is something that will come back up just because, there's a lot of unique things that Blast has to offer. And I think that'll shine through eventually.
All right. Brett says, raise your targets, folks. So get back out in those Blast streets. We certainly have seen that. I think rounding out this discussion, Pac-Man has endorsed Predict.fund pretty heavily. I think there's going to be a lot of attention on this. The other app on Blast that has attention right now, folks, unless you've been living under a rock, it's Fancy Top. And I know this is another big one for Bread. Folks, kind of combing through the data. We don't really have it from this weekend just yet. But last weekend we did see, I want to say, so it was Friday. Yeah. So last Friday they hit basically a 2-month high in daily trading volume, eclipsing what had been another 2-month high just the week before. And we are off to another fast start here this weekend. We see Mint, the minting rate is now at 3-month highs. Let's take a look at users. Users still pretty steady. So user growth is not really, moving up and to the right. It looks like we've got just a core 1,600 people who are using this app, and they come in and they use it every week. Brad, curious for your thoughts if you've had a chance to kind of dig into any of the data since you've been back from Norway. Perhaps what might jump out to you, from any of these metrics?
Yeah, so I actually keep a local dashboard that I run through and do some tracking on things like the number of listings on the marketplace and then unique holders of the actual fantasy tokens, stuff like that. I've been noticing, so the market volume numbers is good. Obviously, we like to see volume. The fresh mints is good. We like to see that because that shows just new capital coming into the thing, and that's honestly that's what gets redistributed to the heroes. Kind of starts that flywheel again, and that's good for us because we're heroes. And then, but I've been watching the unique holders of the actual fantasy tokens themselves, so the actual cards, and we've almost had our first positive day. We've been down only for the last 3 months. Every single day we clip out tens to hundreds, but the last few months, or last few weeks, I should say, it's been single digits, double digits, low 20s, high singles. So I've been waiting for that one day where I can put the post out and say, like, first green day, holders gone up day over day in 3 months, right, since launch, effectively. But it's bottoming out. It's really close. We had, literally yesterday was one person left. So like that's
we're close.
Yeah. It feels upswingy. And there's a cult forming.
A cult is absolutely forming. I think one of the challenges with fan stuff, I still think it's hard for like a minnow to play. I think it's hard to put 0.1 ETH in and really play just yet. So you got to come to the table with a little bit more. We're seeing the overall floor kind of hold up. So it got to 0.009, almost 0.01 the other day. It's down a touch here. How's your portfolio been doing? Have you been happy with recent action, Brett?
So actually, thanks to the ever decreasing price of Ethereum, I think I'm actually like neutral / up because of, and like blast rewards, and then like the actual like work price of some of the upper tier cards I got. So I'm doing all right. I'm constantly just like recycling these things into tournaments. That was kind of the thesis, is like, okay, lump sum up front, and I could just like keep rolling out a solid deck week over week and hopefully get enough fantasy points / cards / trade ETH rewards to justify the initial spend. And then, if I need to bail out, I can bail out. So I'm happy with it, and it is fun. Like, it is a little bit different. I just keep rolling it out. Some of my heroes have screwed me, which is fine. That was kind of expected. Part of the game that makes it fun. So
let's talk about that. So Mando on a huge upswing. So shout out to Mando. He had a solid 3 weeks there, back into the top 100. Took a little bit of a fall this week, but I'm sure he will shake that one off as we get into next week. Brad, your Norway trip. We got to you've been calling out some of your heroes for not performing. Your fantasy top holders want to know: Are you back and locked in to the desk?
Yeah, I was getting. They thought the butt would do it week over week. Apparently, that's shock factor. 1 week is good. The following week, not as much. So I'm rebuilding it back up for my boys. Trying to help out. How do you guys? Question back to you both, Mando, Tyler. What are your thoughts on like people reviewing you? Like, I know Khalid is a big guy. Every week he does like his predictions based on stars the following week, whatever. You guys might see the tag on it. How do you like people evaluating you as a poster hero, whatever, and actually like cheering you on, saying you're good, bad, whatever?
Is that to me? Yeah. It's weird. I think about 2 weeks ago I was a good 3-star. And so people were like, oh yeah, this guy's a great 3-star. And then I think I became like a 4-star. And then I was like, oh no, fuck this guy. So it's kind of funny. Like I think honestly, if you go to my score over the last 7 days, I've basically had the same score the whole time. But like, I think the view of me is just like completely shifted over that period. So that's the funny thing about it. Like,
it's because it's relative. Like, so I'm learning about the algorithm, so it's relative, right? So it's not just like you're like based across all of Twitter. It's based across the cohort of heroes that are out there. So like, if everyone else is crushing and you're doing the exact same thing, then you're gonna go down. And like, that's what I'm learning from the guys that do this stuff. But yeah, it's the same shit. Like, then you get the guys that are rooting for you, like, oh, I really believe in Mando. He's so consistent. He's doing whatever, and he's at least trying. Some of these heroes are assholes. They don't do shit, and get rid of them.
Yeah, I think my only complaint is not being reviewed enough. I need to get more meta analysis on my cards out there. So Mando's that's just a 7 day. I want to see the longer. Mando's pretty much a stable coin. Bread not looking the same. Let's see how
down only
indeed. Let's see how I'm doing. I'm a stable coin as well. It is interesting. It's like the number of stars on your card is a huge factor in how playable you are in these different tournaments based on the stars caps and whatnot. I think it's also clear that there is a level of botting that is happening. I certainly see it in my engagement, but it doesn't seem like the Twitter algo seems to care that much. I don't think we've seen any folks penalized much. I guess Logie, as you've been listening to this, I know you've been loosely following the fantasy markets now since they've been out. Why do you think they're seeing this kind of resurgence, this comeback here in August 2024?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think, you found a sticky group of users that enjoy this. I know I've been outspoken about it not being that fun or it seeming that fun, but people have enjoyed it. People's lives are on social media. This particular cohort and the new heroes and those on their way out fall in just the same. And then the additional incentives, I mean, it feels like one of those opportunities where a lot of eyeballs shifted away. And as you've noted I think on this show, Tyler, and others, I mean, like, just by playing the tournaments every week, like, you're doing pretty well. Not to speak for you, but I mean, like, you're making a non-trivial amount of money each month just by rolling your cards back out there each and every week. And so I think those types of things, I mean, people that already have the portfolios built, why move away? If you can kind of do really no effort or low effort and, make some money, enjoy, engage, whatever the case may be for each individual person. That's what I think. I've personally never played the tournaments of the cards. I didn't ever seem that interesting to me. I have played the tactics a couple times near the end of the first Blast Gold airdrop type stuff, just to experience it. It's okay. I don't think I ever did well. I think I burned, however, basically all my money picking people that, whatever, I was using no analysis or anything like that. I was picking people that only I really recognize, which is probably a huge flaw as well. Well aware I was dead money, but it's okay. It's just not really my thing. I mean, kudos to this team for continuing to do stuff to iterate.
The French steps.
Right? Yeah,
in between baguettes, they've shipped a pretty good product. It's got some clear product market fit. Yeah, on the returns note, I'm probably consistently making about half an ETH a week at this point in rewards plus cards. I think the problem is it is getting harder. So people are back. It is more competitive. The last question I had is fan points. So what are our two early price predictions? Brett, maybe I'll throw this to you. Degen Ape Trader did put this out yesterday. Got on my radar. If you don't know Degen Ape, I think he's one of the top top players in the game. He put out some back of the napkin math. He thinks we're on track to have roughly 2.6 billion fan tokens. So I guess, Brett, two early predictions. What kind of market cap do you think we can see fan come out at?
Jesus. I mean, in this market, zero. Everything's zero. Come out at 5 million, go down to zero.
Oh, come on, 5 million.
Dude, everything is red and
give me a real number if this token launches on December 31st.
So look, all right. So that means you have to start doing comps against what? Gaming tokens, right? So because that's how we do everything in this world. We comp it against things that we think are kind of somewhat similar to it, and then we say, is it better or worse? And then that's how we do the mental math. So I would say gaming sector. Okay, so then if we go to the biggest achievers in this, what's Prime at these days? Like Prime is a notable gaming token.
269 million market cap.
Okay, that feels high.
Million FTV. Wow.
Like, we know it's never going to be above base, or not base, Blast, right? Like, are you going to have a token on the platform that is higher than the actual platform itself? Like, you're never going to see?
No, probably not.
Okay.
Not with this app, I wouldn't say. I think that's possible. It's a good question.
So then what's Blast market cap? Because I know that's been getting destroyed.
It's going to make some people sad. 185 million.
185 million. Okay. So we figure a portion of that's the ceiling at a minimum. I'll say 45 million.
Not bad.
As my totally making up a number. It's a quarter of what's going on here. Like,
we're going to need more fan points, I think, is the takeaway there. We're coming out of 45 million. Let's add a few zeros. Last rapid fire prediction. We got to get to roll bit here in a second. Machi's pre-sale. We talked about it a couple of days ago on the show. He's got this weird metric he's tracking with the net worth of people who registered the pre-sale, but apparently that group is up to $123 million in net worth. Any predictions for this? And then Logie, have you registered for this? And where do you think this might come out at?
I did not register. I know I mentioned on the show the other day that I was interested. I didn't ever come around to participating. I have literally no guess as to what this comes out at.
Part of the show is you got to make guesses, Logie.
Are we including Machi in this? Because the dude's sitting on like a gajillion dollars across like 9 chains.
That's a good question. It's actually being asked in the reply. So when Machi registers, is this going to 5x? I'm guessing that he is not in this number, but who knows?
So what what are the top meme coins on Blast was, or I guess top coins on Blast was like a yes in those that we were looking at the other day.
Pack up to 60 million at peak.
I don't know. Maybe there's like a ton of liquidity at maybe like 8 to 10 million. Does that seem fair?
2x for pre-salers.
Yeah.
Mando, are you in on the Machi pre-sale? Or are you marked safe?
I mean, I don't think you could lose money on it, but I don't know. Is it what's even the meme? It's actually him. It's just the Machi coin.
It literally just like the Machi coin.
Guys, just go to a casino, right? Like this doesn't necessarily feel like much more than we're hoping that it's a 2x maybe out the gate from the LP. Is this going to go like 15 million? I don't know. Seems like a 10 million max.
It's much less interesting to me that like it's been open to the public for so long. Like I don't know who didn't get in this pre-sale that wanted to. I tried registering. I couldn't get it. I couldn't get to work.
What was the process? Is that how they're quantifying the net worth? They just see the associated wallets and then tabulate their on-chain.
Yeah, you had to connect a wallet, and I'm sure they just added up what was in that. Originally, it was a series of Blast projects and communities who were eligible, and then they opened it up to the public. Basically all the group chats, most folks were able to get in and log it. I think there's a lot of folks who are in this one, but seems safe-ish. But yeah, I'm not sure on the upside. I feel like
I'm going to go through this entire cycle without a single pre-sale to my name, and I'm proud of that.
You should be proud of that. I wish I could say the same. I caught a Wombat. I talked about something. I caught the Wombat pre-sale.
Right Wombatus? Even after
one of my more embarrassing moments of 2024. That's a fact. Enough on that. Well, let's turn it over to Rollbit. It is time, folks. Thank you for tuning in this long for Rollbit Spins. As a reminder, last chance, retweet the space, follow all the hosts to be eligible. Sims, are we ready for the?
Yep, I'm just loading it in now. Give me 1 second. Hopefully next week we'll be using an actual spinner as opposed to the wonderful wars of Twitter Picker. Let me bring this up here. So as a reminder, if you do get picked, we need you to be requesting within 30 seconds. Otherwise, we'll assume you're actually a bot to switching accounts and we'll pick someone else. Okay, let's go with it. Let's see how many we get locked in. 500.
500 entries. All right, folks.
And we need 2 people. We have the Filch and Mooney Mike S.
Oh, the Filch and Mooney Mike S. It's your lucky day. Make sure
request now, you two. We need them to request, otherwise we will move on. We've been pretty quick about this time.
I'm not seeing any requests yet.
No, just the standard reg guys always requesting. They do.
While you guys wait for that, I forgot to mention on the Fantasy Top stuff, Moon Overlord has actually climbed to the top 50 holders. I track that too and tag the wallets. So you have some known names coming up.
If he only would tweet. He must not own himself. All right, folks.
We got Filch.
All right, Filch is up. All right.
Holy shit, I'm in the fucking Istanbul and I just got picked. This is wild.
Filch. Live from Istanbul.
Let's ride.
All right, looks like we've got.
I'm not joking. My wife is shopping and I'm sitting here on the bench on the hotspot.
Unbelievable.
And you're the first pick as well. Congrats.
Let's go. Let's get this guy a punk live in Istanbul. His wife can keep shopping.
Come on, Burn. Roll a good one. Come on.
All right.
I can't see, by the way.
All right. We'll try to. So Sims, give us the play. Are we ready to click the button here?
Yeah, click the button, Bernie. Come on. Give this man a punk. Let's see what we get.
Oh, shit, I'm fucking shaking.
Big money.
Rolling. That's a nice looking red guy.
And it's a wreck guy. $1,400.
Yeah, it's a $1,400.
Grateful, guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Congrats. Hopefully the Istanbul trip a little bit better with this nice little Friday win. All right, Phil.
Super grateful.
Yeah, cheers.
Thank you for joining. Appreciate it. Is Mike there? Mike, you on the line?
Yeah.
Me? No.
No. Guest. Mooney Mike. Okay, this will be. Yeah, we got him. Bernie, hit it. Let's see what we got.
All right. Let's roll. Take two. What do we got? And it's another guy. All right. Another $1,200 win here. Oh, a cryptos one. I always like those. Love the cryptos.
You think those come back? You think the toads ever, like, they're iconic, but like, yeah, like, what do they do? I feel like they're iconic to us.
Indeed. Well, Mooney Mike, congrats on that. Will toads come back? That's a good question. It would require all of the 2021 era OG collectors just sweeping them. I'm not sure the new participants are going to come in and scoop up the toads, but who knows? That they've had their runs off and on for the last few years. Well, folks, we are going to call it there. That will be our show for today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of FOMO Hour. Thanks to Logan. Thanks to Mando. Thanks to Brad, our special guest. Today, some really fun discussion, folks. We will be back on Tuesday to recap the weekend. Go have a great Friday. Have a great long weekend. Go make it a beautiful day. Goodbye.